So on to day 4 and our third theme park, which was SeaWorld. Now, SeaWorld's not located where the other theme parks are out on the Pacific Highway. It's located essentially on the seafront, or in that general location, with the river one side and the sea on the other. And that made it a different experience traveling to in the morning, as we went right through the Gold Coast with all the large buildings either side of us. It's something that I'm still not entirely used to, that there seems to be a greater amount of high-rise buildings in this part of the country than anywhere else. I might be wrong, but even Sydney, I haven't noticed this. There is just high-rise apartments and hotels everywhere you look. Adelaide has maybe a couple, and even they are really quite modest in size. But the Gold Coast, they are everywhere. This prime piece of real estate on the front of the water. And yeah, it's really quite unusual driving through them. You see on TV and helicopter shots on the news quite a lot, but to actually be here and to be driving through them, it's probably comparable to lots of other places in the world where I guess Manhattan is a good example. There's just an abundance of high-rise buildings. That one just over there with the big point on it, you can actually do a climb. I am considering doing it one evening. Maybe, I think you can even have a dinner up there or a breakfast, so that looks pretty cool. Yeah. Buildings as far as you can see, and they're all big. Once we got there, it was a case of working out what we're going to do with the day, and I recommend putting in a little bit of work ahead of time for this, particularly if you're going to do any of the special experiences that you can book into for an extra payment. Now, we didn't do any of those on this trip, but I had done one of those on the last trip. This was after all my third trip to SeaWorld, and I think the last time we did the penguins, the emperor penguins. We talked about it, but none of them really, we thought, no, you know what, we're going to see enough as it is. But if you do want to do something, look at the website, book in ahead of time. And then make sure you look at the program for the shows you can see during the day, just so if there's something you really want to see, you don't miss it, because there's limited shows. And there's quite a few, but I would definitely recommend the two not to miss are the dolphin show and I call it the water skiing show because it's gone through various incarnations over the years, but essentially this one I think was called Thunder Lake Stunt Show or something like that. And that's on the main lake as you go in and out. So we looked at the program, we thought, well, we can do both the dolphin show and the water skiing show right at the end. And let's just do them together because they don't overlap. And for the first show, why don't we go straight and watch the seals, because there was one about to start. So we went and watched that.
And you can do the faster.
That's probably a good show for the kids. And once we'd seen that, we decided to start doing some of the rides and some of the exhibits you can just walk through during the day. So, first ride we went to was the new ride they built, Leviathan. This is a really good roller coaster that's wooden. And you don't see too many wooden roller coasters these days. They're normally the old ones that have been kept around at some parks for historical purposes. But this was built intentionally out of wood because, and I asked some of the staff about it, and they said, yeah, their understanding was people like that rougher ride you get from a wooden roller coaster. So that was the project. So they built this roller coaster. There's no loops in it, but some of the best things about roller coaster are drops and, as I say, the high speed turns and things like that. And it's really good. Heavily themed, which is something that I have identified when it comes to talking about how do Australian theme parks differ to US theme parks. Why are they not at the same level? And it comes down to theming most of the time. That our theming is much more wafer thin, and in the US they layer it on really thick. So you could be lining up for a ride at Disneyland or the Universal Studios or Disney World or anything like that, and also some places in Europe that do the same, it must be said. And right from the point where you start lining up, it's kind of a show, right? You're walking through the theme, the display, there might be a video going on, there might be an audio going on, there might be these animatronics going on. It's very immersive. And this is something that is lacking, I think, in Australian theme parks. But we're getting better at it. I think it's something that people are starting to look at. And Leviathan is actually pretty good in that it's got a lot more work that's gone into it. And then once you've finished up your initial bit of lining up, you go in inside the building, which is air conditioned, which was another bonus when we were there because it was another hot, humid day. And as soon as you go inside, there is basically all these screens that are meant to be windows, like you're meant to be underwater. And you're seeing sea monsters go past and things like that, which is the central theme of Leviathan, as you might gather. And then you come to the roller coaster, and you get in and you go and have the ride, and it's a really good ride. And then you go back out, as I say, through the theming again. And a little bit of extra work has gone into it. I'd like to see more of that, so that was really good. The other thing with Leviathan, you can go backwards, which I did. Karen wasn't keen to do it this time, but it was quite an aggressive sort of ride, bumpy, and but I quite enjoyed it. It was another good fun experience. You've got to pay a bit extra again, much like at Movie World, but is it worth it? Yeah. If you don't have to do, in fact, you won't have to do the big lineups if you pay for it, because you will go straight to the front of the queue for going backwards, because a lot of people don't pay for it. But heavily recommended. Don't miss Leviathan if you like coasters. There's a couple of other ones also to do. Storm is part roller coaster, part log flume, I guess. You go up, do the coaster section of it, big drops, whatnot, and then you go into the water, get a bit wet, and the ride essentially then floats, just like the Wild West log flume ride at Movie World does. And I'd like to see it a bit longer, to be honest, but it's a good ride. And again, the theming for Storm is pretty good. And certainly getting soaked when you hit the water is quite welcome. So don't miss that one. The other one is the jet coaster, which is a short ride, but it's not bad. It's watching some of the other reviews of the roller coasters within Australia. This one actually gets quite a good rap from people. And the other bonus is I don't normally see longer lines waiting for it, so worthwhile do it. And there are a few other attractions and rides you can do, but I won't go into any of them, but while you're there you'll come across them. Give them a red hot go. We didn't do the high ropes course, at least I think that's what it was. It was right up the back of the park. I don't think it was open when we were there, but I thought, well, that's another unique thing to do at a theme park. Here in South Australia, we don't have theme parks, but we do have a few really good high ropes course. So that was another thing that I would have done if I had the time and it was open. So it might be worthwhile having a look. And from there, we went into some of the other displays. So we went into the sea jellies display. And I think they actually grow them there as like a laboratory of sorts. And they've got all this light going through them. Now, I'm always going to prefer seeing jellyfish and the like in the ocean, scuba diving. But on an educational level, for people who don't do it, it is quite interesting looking at these animals that are very interesting. What else? Sharks. Anytime you go to any SeaWorld kind of theme park, be it here or overseas, there's going to be something on sharks. Definitely one of the things I'm most interested in the ocean. One of my best ever dives was diving with Grainer sharks at Southwest Rocks, Fish Rock Cave. It's just so memorable. And yeah, so they got a really good display of sharks. You can pay to go in one of them that's separated. I think there's two of them right next to each other, and do a bit of snorkeling. And it's it's the very placid ones, so to speak. But we could see people snorkeling around in that display. So that's perhaps something that you might want to do if you have a family there. From there, the two last shows that we wanted to do. The dolphin show. Highly recommended. You can't miss it. It's really quite spectacular. I do have really mixed feelings about seeing dolphins in captivity, because generally I'm against it. But what I will say is, I've seen them in the ocean when I was at sea in the Navy. I've seen them from my boat, and I always enjoy seeing them. But you don't normally see just quite how athletic they can be. How they teach them to do that, I'm not really sure. Yeah, we really enjoyed that show, and from there it was just a very short walk to the main lake for the Thunder Lake stunt show, the water skiing show, and that was pretty specky too.
What's your reaction when you do? Front flip. Alright, we'll see your front flip. We'll race you Jada. Alright, slip. Let's go! Yeah!
And they've also included a BMX rider into it. I don't know when they did it, but it wasn't there the last time. It's a new addition. So that was a great way to finish. And then as we were going out, and this is how sometimes you can be a bit lucky, we, for whatever reason, ended up talking to one of the employees who was selling or promoting other experiences from SeaWorld, like things that they did outside. And one of them was a SeaWorld dinner cruise. And we missed dinner the night before when we went to Slideways. It was just too late and things were shut. So we thought, well, we're going to eat tonight, and why not? Let's just stay down here. We haven't planned anything, and go on this dinner cruise. Let's have a look around the waterways and the rivers, because that wasn't something we were planning to do on this trip. So we got on it with very little notice, not expecting anything, and it was, I think, for both of us, the highlight of our trip to the Gold Coast. Sometimes that's what happens when you don't expect things to be really good. You have no expectations, but it was lovely. It was great. It was the sun went down. It was beautiful. We were on the upper decks. We went amongst all these, the residential areas, up all the backwaters, under the bridges, and it was just beautiful. Well, we're on a nice dinner cruise that we decided to do at the last moment as it was being promoted at SeaWorld, and this is absolutely gorgeous here, and the weather's playing, and yeah, just loving the scenery, going up and down the waterways. Can't recommend it enough. And the food was really good, the service was really good, the musician was really good, the guitarist, sorry. what a great experience to finish the night off. I cannot recommend it enough. So if you're going to SeaWorld, try and book the dinner cruise. They do other cruises as well during the day, and they do other experiences through the same booking agency. I guess you could call them. I think the Tangalooma Rex and things like that. Had we been up there longer, we would have done other things like that. This was basically theme parks, but yeah, we did manage to squeeze this one in, and it was worth doing. So yeah, that was our day at SeaWorld, and also the dinner cruise. Yeah, probably our best day we spent on the Gold Coast. And for the next video, which will be our last one, we'll talk about the last 2 days, the last 2 theme parks we went to, and one of the other experiences that we managed to squeeze into the trip.